going.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror film Alive. The film is written and directed by David Marantz and it stars Ellen Hillman, Kian Pritchard, Neil Sheffield, Stuart Matthews, Angus Kennedy and Gillian Broderick. Now this film is treading over very familiar ground in a sense of we are dealing with a zombie apocalypse here. And it's based in the UK. There are elements of this film that remind you of earlier classics like 28 Days Later. But unfortunately, with this being a really low-budgeted film, that is really where the comparisons end, really, because the low budget of this film essentially really does shine through. And the film focuses on the aftermath of a zombie apocalypse. You get the usual spiel at the beginning. You know, you get like TV newsreel clips and news anchors talking about this, that, and the other. And you see a school teacher explaining to the class about, you know, what to do if you're infected and this kind of stuff. And then it jumps forward a little bit. Society is obviously broken down, and we meet a sister who's got a boyfriend. She's looking after her younger brother, and they are also teaming up with a former teacher of theirs. They are trying to stay alive by, you know, running across the English countryside, surviving as best they can, and trying to keep away from some parts of civilization, because obviously society is broken down and there are not some very nice people out there. Right. What are my thoughts on Alive? Well, exactly the problem with this film is, while it's got plenty of ambition, and I do respect the fact that they've tried their best with obviously a very small budget to create a watchable film and stuff. Unfortunately, the film's budget absolutely destroys this film. The effects don't look particularly effective. For the zombies, well, they don't look effective at all, to be fair. The characters aren't necessarily memorable. It's too tame in a sense of, I think it's I'm not even sure if it's going to be rated 15. I mean, there's no vicious kills or anything like that. This is a film that in a bigger budget, with a bigger budget, it tries to deal with some themes that could be interesting. And what I mean by that is it focuses this film, or tries to focus more heavily on how nefarious or cruel humans can be when society breaks down, and you know, how nasty some parts of society could be, and how and this film focuses on that. It focuses on groups of people that essentially are only out for themselves, and essentially are villains. That's interesting, and they could have done more with that, but I don't necessarily think that they do enough with that. But there's also another theme in this film that I think they could probably have done better with. The only real original thing they have in this film, or it felt a little bit original to me, is the fact that the little brother in this film, he's been infected, but he hasn't turned yet. So that to stop him from turning, they kind of feed him like raw meat sort of thing to kind of feed that hunger. And that stops him from turning. If he's left unattended for too long, he will turn. Now, that was an interesting concept that I think they could have played around with much better than they did. And there was another concept in the film, in a sense of there's a survivor that they find, Dan he's called, who kind of lets them into his life, but he's got locked up in his attic. His wife who has turned, and he feeds her like raw meat and stuff. But there's clearly some level of humanity left in her, because she cares for a zombie child sort of thing later in the film. So that concept, I think, could have been explored better than it was. Unfortunately, what we get here is a very generic, predictable, like zombie apocalypse film. And by that, what I mean is, you get these young characters being given a false sense of security by being invited into a larger group, and then damn well that they're villains. I mean, the villains because the leader of the villains is a preacher, and in these sort of films, preachers are always the villain. So you've got these people that we know the villain, and they've got to kind of get away, and then the villains aren't going to have that, so they're chasing them to this place, and a battle ensues, and it's a plot line we've seen over and over again in movies like this, or certain movies in this genre and beyond. So it's a film that is limited because of the budget. I don't think, while some of the performances are not what you would describe as top quality, I don't think they're as bad, certainly, as some other films I've seen with this kind of budget. You can see that people are trying. I think, the sound isn't great at times, so they're obviously, the technology is letting them down a bit here and there. And some of the line delivery is a little bit stilted here and there. It almost feels like at times like they've it's like and I've said this before in other reviews of budgets, of low budgeted films, it feels like a drama group has got together and decided to make a film sort of thing, on a very shoestring budget, and everybody in the film is part of this drama group almost. It's not the worst film I've seen this year, not by a long stretch, and I do respect the ambition here, and I do say this a lot again with films of a similar budget with some ambition. You kind of think, what could they have done with 4 times, 5 times the budget? You know what I mean? Because there's some interesting ideas being played with here, and an interesting concept. I think ultimately it is pretty much let down, certainly by the budget. But yeah, that is my review for Alive. If this is a genre that interests you, you like low budget, and you don't mind some of the jankiness sometimes that comes with a low budgeted film, there might be some things here that you will certainly enjoy, so maybe give it a go if there's anything that sounds interesting in this review to you. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it useful. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.